Lost count. Eight, 59. Lost count. Eight, 59. Lost count.
You're watching Battle Axe Theater. That means drinking, vulgar language, vaping, and occasionally over-the-top nudity. Viewer discretion is advised.
What is up, everybody? Hey, hey!
Happy Monday.
It is Monday, bro.
It is Monday.
Want to make an announcement real quick. I don't know where my head's at today, so if I seem a little dumb more than usual, that's why. So, I guess you could call it a case of the Mondays. Uh-oh.
Yeah? You got a case of the Mondays? Apparently YouTube does too.
Oh, yeah.
What is
Yeah,
up, everyone?
I don't think the intro had sound. Go ahead.
Huh. Should have had sound. I'll have to look into that. I mean, it wouldn't be our stream if we didn't have technical difficulties.
Right.
Can you hear us now, though? Can you hear the words? Like,
Can you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
what is up,
Okay.
everybody? My name is Punkshu. I'm here with my boy Def.
Hey, thank everybody for coming out, sticking around on a Monday. Means a lot. So keep that sexy voice going, Punkshu, because we got to have something to make up for the technical difficulties.
We got to have like an ASMR stream. Just keep it real.
Man.
Just keep it super chill.
Okay. We're going to lose followers right now if we keep doing this.
Yeah, I mean, we can't be having viewers getting turned on and having to run to the other room.
Oh.
Anyway, we together are Battle Axe Theater, and this is our show Battle Axe Live, where we talk about gaming and nerd culture type things on a Monday afternoon. Nope, on a Monday evening. And tonight we're going to talk about a little bit about longevity and reusability of gear in MMOs. And what do we mean by that? Well, we'll break that down here for you in a little bit, but essentially we're going to talk about gear lasting a while and not just being replaced instantaneously once you get it.
Yeah.
So I want to apologize in advance for the quality of the stream tonight. We initially started at 1080p and we had some buffering. Now we're doing 720. Let us know if you guys experiencing any buffering coming on from us. And we'll just have to keep looking into this to see what we can do. I mean, maybe worst case scenario next week we do 1080p and just reduce the bit rate because, I mean, it's just our faces, so it doesn't have to be perfectly rendered. So,
Yeah.
So you want to jump into it and jump into what we did last week with this rear view segment?
Let's do it.
Here we go. It's the weekend rear view. Woo, doggy. Woo, doggy.
Ooh, doggy.
This is the segment where we talk about what we've done for the past week because we are a Monday stream, not a Friday stream. So we kind of have to cover what we've been up to rather than what, we're doing in the future. Wait, I guess we could talk about the future.
Or doing currently,
Yeah, there you go. Doing currently. See, I came up with this segment because people were like, oh, it's a Friday stream. This is what we're going to do this weekend. It's so awesome. And then for us, it's like, well, the weekend's already gone. So why don't you tell us what you did for the last week, Dev?
I went to, we did the final touches on a little commercial, which is out on the channel now.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I went to see some family in San Antonio, and we had barbecue, watched some 80s movies. I learned how to play poker a little bit.
Did you win?
No. Did not win. But I didn't know what the hell I was doing. Only poker I've ever played was on GTA. So, anyway. So, did that, hung out with the fam, had a good time, and just kind of chilled, we were being safe and doing the social distancing and all that, and didn't really go many places, so, I mean, it was fun. It was a nice little getaway, because, we've all been trapped in our houses forever, so.
I was just about to say, at least you're able to get out of the house and see something other than the four walls that contain you. Not that you don't anyway, because you're an essential employee and all that.
Yeah. I never stopped working.
But that's good because a lot of people have lost their jobs, man. So that's awesome
that's
for
true.
you.
I should be thankful.
It's hard though, right?
Yeah, I need a break, man.
So, anything else you want to add?
No, man. What'd you do?
Played some more Guild Wars 2. Been doing routine family day on Sunday afternoons, playing a couple hours with the family, and then we order pizza and hang out. It's been fun. Working on an upcoming project for Battle Axe, something that you and I, as an idea, came up with a couple of nights ago, and we talked about it a little bit yesterday, and it seems like a huge motivator.
It's looking pretty cool too.
I'm really excited for it, and
Yeah,
I'm excited for what it can do. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm working on getting some clips and stuff to kind of put together a promo for this. So, just if it's something we decide to actually go with, you guys should see something here probably in the next month or so. That'll lay out what we're doing there. What else? Amazon orders and such are coming in a little bit quicker now. I ordered a part off of eBay the other day, and it got here within 2 days. I picked up another Elgato. The thingy, the HD60S, the capture card. There we go.
Oh, okay.
I picked up one of the ones that actually goes into the computer, and I got it for like $10 less than the new price, and I got it new off of eBay. So saving $10, I'll take it, right?
Yeah, where's mine, bro?
Yeah, just we'll see how things go, because I got that computer gig that I'm gonna do, and if that doesn't work out, then you're gonna need a capture card for a new camera when you get one eventually.
Oh yeah, that's true. Sorry, my camera sucks. I'm gonna get one of these.
I mean, I don't think it's really much worse than mine is. Honestly, like I look really washed out. I don't know what's going on. Anyway, it's the lighting is what it is. I'm sure it's the lighting. But anyway, kids are going to be out of school. They're kind of like on a makeup week this week to try to finish up any last minute assignments. And I have a slab leak in my bathroom, and they're going to have to tear out the walls tomorrow and replumb the entire hot water in the house. So, hey, that's fun. Yeah.
I just went through that with my house, man. Not that, but a roof leak, and it's not fun, especially when you got people hanging around your house and you're like, man, just go away.
Yeah, go away. Well, I'm going to be involved in that tomorrow. And when I say involved, I mean I'm going to be in the house watching people do the job. And then on Wednesday, the painters are going to come in and redo all the drywall and everything in the bathroom. Luckily, I'm a renter, so this doesn't come out of my pocket. So that's fortunate.
Nice.
But at the same time, it does suck. Because I feel bad, I'm very empathetic. I feel kind of bad for the people that are in charge, that own the house. They're going to have to cover that. So I feel kind of bummed out for them.
Yeah.
But that's pretty much it, man. That's all I've done this week. Fun, exciting, normal stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like we could
life.
travel like too far, right? Like I can't go
Right.
to Florida and visit family, so kind of stuck.
Yeah.
So you want to get into some news? You feeling it?
Let's do it.
Let's get into some news. Ooh.
And now it's time for the Nerd News. Good evening, and thanks for tuning in to this part of the program where we discuss all things technology, comic books, film, art, and more.
All right. This is our Nerd News segment. This is where we talk a little bit about the news from the past week and maybe a little bit beyond, But we try to get fun and entertaining news in here and try to keep a positive spin on things for you guys. And this is some stuff that we find interesting, and we go digging through these news every week to try to find something new and compelling. First article of today. How about that Season 5 Expanse, bro?
Man, you know what? You know how excited I am?
Yeah.
I haven't watched it yet.
Well, I'll tell you what. So I thought there was a trailer when I just first looked at the article, but breaking it down today, all they're saying about the trailer is that there's no trailer yet.
Oh man!
So how are you gonna put trailer in your title and then just be like, yeah, there's no trailer yet?
Bro, if I would have did like I was telling you last night and set up the TV and pulled up the link and everything, and then there's no trailer, I would have drove to your house and murdered you.
Oh shit!
Yeah, like there. I'm sorry. I would have brought a battle axe and do some two-handed damage on you, man. I'm just saying. I was really excited.
That's what she said. You're gonna do some two-handed damage to me, bro.
Come on, man. You know what I mean? I was gonna tear you up. Oh, wait, that's not any better, is it?
No, dude. No, we're gonna have to mark this 18 plus now. Come on, calm down. So yeah, there's no trailer yet. We're gonna be seeing recurring casts, so we're gonna have all of the same people that have been there. So there's been no new names dropped, so pretty excited for that. And we're gonna be the story's basically going to be like things are kind of dissolving a little bit. We're gonna see more of Naomi's backstory and things like that. I tried not to read too much into like what's to come because I don't want the spoilers.
Yeah.
But one of the things that was speculated is that we're going to see Earth and Mars starting to lose their power. They're not going to have the same power that they once had because all these ring gates are
open. Something.
Spoiler alert, there, guys. I apologize for that. But if you haven't seen the Expanse by now, then you should probably check it out if you intend to. And I apologize for that spoiler. I was just going off the news article, didn't even think. But yes, if you don't know what a ring gate is, that's awesome. But yeah, so we're gonna see Earth and Mars kind of losing their foothold or their power, if you will. And I'm really excited for it. Like, I kind of wish I didn't binge watch it as hard as I did because I don't remember everything. But that just gives me an excuse to go back and rewatch it.
Yeah.
Are you going to rewatch it before the new season?
Probably not, because we just finished it, a month or two ago.
Right.
It's still fresh in my mind because I didn't like it at first. So, we rewatched the first 3 episodes twice because we started it. What we were watching it on was not very good quality, so we used Amazon Prime. We watched it. It was amazing. And I just saw the progression as the show went on. The production got better.
Right.
Because I can't watch a show that doesn't have very good production. But it was
pretty bad at first.
It's pretty bad at first, but bro, once you get to season 2, wow, it's badass.
Yeah, it was.
Love it.
It was really good. And sound off if you guys really enjoy the Expanse like we do. And we'd love to find some more Expanse fans to chat it up in the Discord with. That'd be awesome. But next news article is, I thought this was pretty cool. The lockdown live streaming numbers are out, and they're huge. Apparently, Stream Elements, which is like a huge company that does like add-ins and things like that for OBS and XSplit and whatnot. They've been tracking some numbers, as well as Arsenal.gg, and they're tracking like all the different live streams and the trends and whatnot. And this is crazy. So the live streaming sector grew 45% in the last between March and April.
Whew.
So 45%. That's a year-over-year industry of an extra 100%. So 100% more than what was expected for the year. So not even just those 2 months, but for the year.
Mm.
So it's pretty crazy to like look at this and think about this and think about the sector that we're in and, all of our friends that are content creators out there. And so we've got, in ways, like, it's awesome. Like, be creative, go out there, be creative, do something with your quarantine time. But at the same time, like, we've got competition, bro.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some pretty ladies out there that people would rather be watching than, listen to our mouth holes move all night.
They got laid off from waiting tables, and then, well, you know what? I love, I'm trying to think. What's a girl? I don't know.
I have no idea.
Which is wrong. I love World of Warcraft. I'm just gonna pop my boobies out and stream. Sorry.
This is what Def really thinks. And if you're a female streamer, he apologizes, and I apologize for him. We respect you, and we we just it's a harsh
Yeah.
world out there.
I mean, if you do that, keep doing it. I'll watch.
And but you do you, and I actually saw some pretty interesting streamers in the like just chatting. I didn't know people hung out on Twitch and just did just chatting, and
Oh yeah.
I expected to see like a bunch of beautiful people over there, and it wasn't just a bunch of beautiful people. It was just a bunch of normies. There were some pretty people. Obviously, lots of like borderline cam girls there, but it's pretty interesting that there's a whole segment for that because I know they have a whole podcasting section too. So,
Oh, dude, they do cooking shows, all kinds of stuff. It's pretty neat.
yeah, I'm hoping to maybe dabble with that, Twitch a little bit. If you guys are interested in seeing us do some Twitch stuff, let us know. Let us know if you'd like to see us on Twitch because it's not like we haven't used it and been somewhat established or familiar with it at least.
Yeah.
Def and I both used to stream back in the day before we started doing BAT. So,
Yeah. Sure.
So I'm going to break down the numbers really quick. So Twitch has seen a 50% increase from March to April, and that's 101% year over year. 1.645 billion hours watched per month. 1.645 billion.
When you use billion, holy crap.
Think about it, dude. Like our YouTube channel, and now granted, we're not huge, right? But we do get a good bit of watch time because of our lengthier content. We pull in several thousand hours a month. And they're talking 1.645 billion. Now, this is the whole platform. But that's still huge. That just shows how people like their entertainment. And that live streaming is... I'm curious how that stacks up against television. It's kind of crazy.
That is crazy, man.
Facebook saw a 72% increase. So Facebook is growing hugely. That's a 238% year-over-year growth. YouTube Gaming saw 14%, so only a 65% year-over-year. And Mixer only saw 15%. With a 0.2% year over year. So I think you can almost use that as kind of an indicator, like which platform do you want to go to? But the issue therein lies, like if you start streaming on these platforms, you also have all that competition. And when I say competition, I don't necessarily mean it's an unhealthy competition. I mean it's good competition. It's people to inspire. It's people to network with. But what I mean is like lack of exposure. Like if you're just getting started, it's going to be harder and harder when people start jumping on those platforms. So like, if you're just getting started, you might consider building a user or a viewer base over on Mixer, maybe switching platforms down the road and then picking up, those viewers on that other platform. So just a little information there.
Yeah, and I just, like I was telling you last night, man, I can't scroll through Facebook without Warzone or Destiny 2 or several games just popping up, and right. I'll admit, when I come home from work and I want to lay down for a minute, I'm just scrolling through and I'll start watching, and I'm like, oh man, this guy's pretty good. And it makes, we do content, so it makes me wonder, is this guy doing his main gig on Facebook? So that's kind of interesting to know that jump, And
like we've got a friend Riven from Mordots. Used to be Mordots Radio, now it's Mordots Gaming. Mm-hmm. He did Facebook for a while, and he preaches it. He still does Facebook as like his live streaming page, and then he does his recorded videos to YouTube. And I used to fight with him, like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you go to Mixer or something like that, something that's already more established? But I mean, it was inevitable. Like Facebook, it's in so many people's hands already. My issue is like, all right, so most people that use Facebook are usually like, I don't want to say middle age, but like our age-ish, like I would say if I had to guess between the ages of like 24 and 50, right? And I would say that the majority of them are probably in like their late 20s and to mid or early 40s. So, and a lot of those people don't use Twitter. I don't use Twitter. You do a lot of the Twitter stuff. Like I get on there and I throw some stuff up once in a while, but as far as like consumption of social media, like I can't figure it out. And I feel like a boomer saying that, but like maybe it's not that I can't figure out. I just don't vibe with it. I don't feel anything from it, like it doesn't appeal to me because it's just like, it's so much, and and then you turn it off and you reopen it and it's all new stuff again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Whereas Facebook is a little bit more orderly, and that's why I try to take care of the stuff on the Facebook. If you're watching and not following us on social media, be sure to check us out on Twitter and Facebook. Give me that motivation to do Facebook links. What's up, Sarah Lynn?
I know we got to keep it going, but my thing about Twitter and Facebook is on Facebook you'll be scrolling through, but once you exit Facebook, you open Facebook again, and it's all new content. It's all new stuff. You can lose your spot. On Twitter, you reopen it, and it's still that like you're talking about.
So you're saying it's a mess all the time?
It's just a mess all the time, but it's always there. You know what I mean?
Right.
It is as far as I've seen. I've not messed with my personal Twitter very much since we started Battle Axe. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but that's my thing about Twitter over Facebook is just you post it, it's there, everybody sees it, they open it again, nothing's going on in their feed, they see it again. Whereas Facebook, I'll find an article and then I can't find that article again, and that pisses me off.
They have kind of messed that up over the years. I will say Twitter is nice though if you're looking for some bite-sized consumption, because you can just kind of scroll through and be like, oh, neat, and it's like right there for you to read. You don't have to be like, click to read more.
Yeah, it's to the point. It's just out there.
Yeah. So you had some stuff you wanted to talk about in the news, right?
Yes. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 are going to be remastered in 4K. Now, growing up, man, it's like I was telling you last night, bro. It just, the nostalgia just comes back to my mind. And in the article that'll be in the description down below, there's going to be a video in that article, and they show the side-by-side comparisons from back then to now, and holy shit, it looks good.
I always forget to check out the other articles. Like, we go through all this, and we get it all set up, and I forget to check out your articles, and now I'm going to have to look at that after stream because I want to see that, because I'm pretty excited. Like, I didn't get started until the PS2 version, which is Pro Skater 3, I think it was. So I'm kind of excited for it because I just have some nostalgic memories of that, and really, I don't know, just some nostalgia. Anyway,
well, it just reminds me of going to the video store, the rental movie place on the weekend, and that was the game to rent back then, and like
right.
You'd rent those games, a couple of movies, and you had a great time. It comes out on September 4th, hopefully, if everything goes well. But that's their projected date.
Awesome.
But, man, and you get both games. You get 1 and 2. There will be a online multiplayer mode. I guess from what I saw in the video, it looks like you can do tricks and compete. And when I told you about this, you're like, is it going to be on PC? And that was my first question. It will be on PC. So,
bro,
that is very, very, very exciting for me.
Y'all, if you got a second monitor or just want to put us in the background, you should check out that link in the description for the Verge Tony Hawk Pro Skater. They have like a slider here where you can slide back and forth and kind of see the graphics of the same map. It's not the same exact position, but it's very close. Bro, this looks sick.
Yeah. It looks awesome.
I cannot wait, man.
Yeah. Looks really good.
That is, I just remember, like I didn't have a PlayStation 2 initially, and a family member got a PlayStation 2, and I was over at their place, and it was the only game that they had because it came with the Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and it was like the only game they had for like a month because, like you said, back then you could go rent games, and I would just sit there and play that, chill on the couch on the weekend, play some Tony Hawk when I wasn't playing Zelda on the N64. And I just remember it being good times. I associate that with like a super chill time in my life.
Oh man, dude. That is the one thing I do miss about console gaming, but now, we got Steam Links. They don't make those anymore, do they?
No, but you can get NVIDIA Shield, you can do it on the Android TV device.
Yeah. And sometimes I do that, man. I stream a game to my TV in the living room, and I grab a controller, and I just sit back and that's good fun sometimes, just to relax and
Yeah. You know, Serlin brought up a point too with that, and I know we're trying to keep the news a little shorter, but I'm loving this engagement. The punk music that came from those, like I was introduced to the Ramones from that, and other bands, I'm sure, but that was 20 years ago. And go ahead.
Oh, I think that's in the video. I think it's the original soundtracks.
Remastered?
I'm not sure. I saw something about soundtrack, and
I'll have to check it
listed
out.
some of the bands, but yeah. Anybody that's curious about the music, but so to me, I'm glad you brought that up, because to me, when we play GTA 5, and you're in your car and you can go through the music and stuff, and it's modern day music. To me, Tony Hawk started that, and it's kind of like a hats off to that, because those were the current bands back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was like
oh, this is Power Man 5000. I love this song.
You're out there skateboarding, like you got a boombox over there sitting on the side of the fucking CD playing in it.
Yeah, and it's just kind of like back then, it was because it was back then.
Right.
They introduced, awesome music while playing a game,
Yeah, exactly.
So it's pretty cool.
Kudos to them for that. I'm excited for that, and I'm definitely going to check that out. Yeah. Awesome, man. Thank you.
You are welcome. Want to move on?
Yeah, let's talk about this other topic, because I think it's going to take us a minute. I'm pretty excited for this.
Well, the reason I covered this topic is because you put out a video. We got into the game. We wanted the game to do well. I was excited for this game for months and months. I think everybody in Battle Axe was. But it's about Anthem, and how the Austin studio director confirms that Anthem reboot will be more transparent and have a longer process. So basically what a lot of indie MMOs are doing, they're going to, I think the scenario he used as an example is like, watch the sausage as it's being cooked or whatever.
Right. Okay.
So they're gonna be doing updates and everything, and there's a lot of controversy on the comments and stuff. Some people are pissed. Some people, despite all the negativity about the game and how it failed and blah blah blah, they were like, well, why should I even play if you're gonna just redo the game? Like, I'm gonna lose everything.
And again, guys, we're talking about Anthem here. So this is the game that came out that was like, us as avid Warframe players were really excited to be an actual person inside of like a Warframe, like a mech, and to fly around and do some crazy shit. And like all of Battle Axe, for the most part, everybody who was active in Battle Axe and playing Warframe and whatnot at the time, we all picked it up and we all played it. But the problem is like, it wasn't that the game was bad. It was that the loot system had a bad design, and there were some bugs, but the bugs, the way they handled it was kind of wonky. But overall, I would have given the game like a 90% in terms of like functionality and fun, just to go out there and fly around and enjoy yourselves. But the thing was, you had to spend the money to get the game, or you had to pay for the pass, and I was paying for the Origin Pass, and I just couldn't see myself continuing to pay for it if there was not going to be anything more to the end game. Because there was just lack of progression. Like, you felt like you were progressing as a javelin, but then when you got out there into the field and you went into more higher grandmaster levels, you just weren't getting loot. And I know they haven't addressed any specifics yet, right, Def? Just that they're going to be doing it, right?
Christian Daly is the head at the Austin studio, and he was saying that it's going to take some time. So it's gonna be a while.
Okay, in either way though, do you think? We've seen it so many times lately, like with these like redemptions in games. Do you think it's possible?
Yeah, and I'm rooting for it, because that was what I was just about to bring up. Is a lot of people, like, I think Elder Scrolls Online, they had to go down and do a revamp, and
Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. because I don't have the list in front of me, but there's a couple of people making really good points in the comments. A lot of games have went down, and Destiny 2 has done it twice.
Yep.
They lost all their player base, or at least half, something like that. They lost this big amount, and they came back. They listened to the fans, and they delivered.
Yep.
Forsaken expansion was a good example. And then I forget the one of the last few expansions of Destiny 1, but that totally turned that game around.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm hoping for Anthem, because I was having so much fun. Like I was telling you last night, like this is the only game where I actually enjoyed playing like a looter shooter as a melee. Like I really enjoyed it because the interceptor combat was just so combo oriented and so fast and fluid. I could jump in and bah, 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 boom, bang, bang, and then shoot out of there, fly around, come back around, do it all over again. Like it was just awesome. Now I want to play it.
I know. I wanted to play it last night when we were talking.
Oh shit, man! Why do we always do this to ourselves?
I know, right? There's not enough time in a day, man.
No, I reinstalled Black Desert Online last week, and I jumped in for like 5 minutes. I was like, gotta relearn to play, don't have time. Okay, thanks. Oh, man. All right, so let's see here.
I think
okay,
that's
gotcha.
it, bro.
Yeah, that is it. Well, maybe. I don't know. You just threw me off, man.
Hey.
What?
Sorry to interrupt, boys, but can we move on to something a little bit more substantial?
I suppose.
Well, that's wonderful. Are you guys ready to get down with a couple bearded idiots who ramble on about random gaming topics? Well, you're in the right place. It's time for the meat and taters.
The meat and taters.
I guess it's time for the meat and taters, man.
It is, but first, okay. First, I'm going to have to update the stream topic for tonight.
Oh, yeah, we're not talking audio-visual. We're talking...
Yeah,
Well,
apparently I've got to
taters.
update this in several places. That's just poor design on my part, but we're going to talk about longevity and reusability of gear and items in MMORPGs.
Yes!
So this is a topic that you came to me with last night, and we've got like a whole list of topics that we've kind of thought about covering, but you had a good point with this one, and I thought it'd be kind of short and sweet and kind of fun to talk about. And when we say longevity and reusability in MMORPGs, what we're talking about is like the bygone era, of MMOs, where you had that epic quest, or you had that item that required a bunch of components, or you had to really work for it, and you had to kind of build yourself up and get this particular item. But once you got it, it mattered. It lasted. Even if you outgrew it physically using it, you could put it in your inventory and utilize it for situational things.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to be talking about a little bit tonight. You had some examples that we had kind of talked about. You want to go ahead and talk about some of the examples and kind of embellish them a little bit for me?
Well, and I want to give props for this idea of this topic because we've talked about replacing gear in our previous stream, I'm sure. At least I recall it coming up several times.
Yeah, we've touched on it briefly.
But, Drax posted his top 10 items. Drax Attacks, if you guys don't know, he does his own blog. And he's real big in the Pantheon community and all that. But I was reading the comments to his post on Twitter, and it really hit me. It's like, man, these guys are right. Like, that is just gone. I don't remember the last time I played an MMO where I could go pick up an item, and that item is a clicky, it has some kind of magic properties to it, blah, 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 and I can use that item, and then when I'm done with that item, I'm still using it. But some of the examples are, frequently replacing gear, and we see that in almost every modern MMO that we play.
Yeah.
But it's like, what happened to I get a helmet that lasts me 27 levels, Like, that's just unheard of.
Dude, I noticed that when playing P99. Like, I had never played much EverQuest. Like, we played EverQuest, and I guess maybe it wasn't just P99, but it didn't really hit me until we did P99. Is that, like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but are there level requirements on gear?
There is. I don't think that hit till maybe the Luckland era.
Because I know when we started playing, like, you ended up getting, like, a whole set of, like, what I would have thought. I've been like, whoa, you got, like, a whole set of plate gear, and you're only, like, level 10.
Yeah.
And it was pretty crazy.
This guy, I forget the helmet he gave me, but it's the one that all the dwarves wanted. It had the horns, and then he gave me some bronze armor and stuff, and I was decked out, man. we were delivering those crush bone belts, man.
Yeah, we were in there kicking some ass.
But yeah, and I kind of missed that. I kind of missed the no level requirements thing, but I don't know if that. I mean, can that work in modern MMOs?
I don't see why not. And I only bring that up because, like, if you had the means to acquire said item, or let's say that you got into a group of people, and you know, in those types of MMOs, the community tends to be very open, you know, and if they can manage to carry your ass, they'll carry you, and something drops and you get it. Like, that's an adventure that sticks in your mind, you know? You're like, yeah, well, 4 years ago, I remember when I first started playing X game, and I was going out, and I was a noob, and I bumped into some people to ask them to show me the way to one place, and on the way there, we happened across a rare spawn, we killed it, and nobody needed the item, so they just gave it to me. Like, I still have it in my bank to this day, kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, and I have stories just like that in EverQuest, where a higher level takes me to farm an item and lets me loot it. And
that's cool.
You know what I mean? And it's like, that goes back to community, you know? Making those kind of friends and looking up to someone, you know, like, man, this guy took me to a level 40 zone. I'm only level 29, you know, and I got this item and I can equip it now. Now I'm going to level faster and yada, yada, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely like, I think that's something that's missing. Like, I don't need to see like an overabundance and of availability. Like, you know, maybe you guys kill that rare spawn and something drops that you can't even use, or you have no use for it, or you have to vendor it or whatever. You know, you still have the adventure in your mind, but it doesn't oversaturate the market in terms of gear availability. So I don't know, man. Like I think the games could definitely do it. Now, one of the things that really comes to mind when we're talking about longevity, and this is going to hit home to you, is like epic gear. Like in my case, it was the Final Fantasy artifact armor. In your case, you guys had the epic weapon quest, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, can you tell us a little bit about what that was like? You've told me before, but I'm genuinely curious again because
it is amazing. I mean, it was one of my favorite things because you could start off doing the first few steps, you know, by yourself, and I never played Final Fantasy, or a little bit with, you know, Nasomi, but I mean, you had to go to NPCs that don't have any indication that they're a quest giver. You have to go to this location. Traveling alone is an experience in itself. Right. And then, you know, you follow the dialogue. There was no cheating. Like, you got to repeat what he said, you know, keywords and stuff. Mm-hmm. So you're doing this, and I think because of that feature where you actually had to read, just so you know what words to say back, kind of really immersed yourself in this quest that you're going on. Right. But man, I got the only epic I achieved back in current times back then was my Monk 1.0, and dude, that was so, like, there's not an experience that was greater than that in MMOs for me personally. Because when I got to the last two fights and we had to summon Kazakh Thul in the Lake of Ilomen, my guild gathered for me, and that was just kind of how it was back then. Like, okay, next Saturday we're going to get Dev's epic, you know, next Tuesday we're going to help, you know, Larry get his epic,
and,
you know.
And you know, that's missing now, man, because like you had people that helped you and wanted to help you. So you felt obligated, and not just obligated, but you wanted to help other people get theirs because you just felt like that it was a communal thing. Like it wasn't achievable without the community.
Yeah. And one thing about the epic weapons is EverQuest kind of did it right, because if you were a monk, you got a right click haste.
Mm-hmm.
And you want your monk to have as much haste as they can get. So even if you don't have a bard and enchanter, you know, you got this monk carrying some haste for himself, so he's doing DPS. Your cleric epic had the right clicky res. You know, the shamans had a right click slow. The necros had more damage to their dots. So you wanted who is ever in your group to have their epic, because
Right.
it just benefits you as a team. So I don't know, man. That is missing these days, and it's something that I'll never forget, man, because, you know, you see these people with their epics and you know what they had to endure, because back then, you know, there were camps, you know. I've helped many clerics in, I want to say it's Skyfire Mountains. Cerulean, maybe you could tell me. I think it was Skyfire Mountains. There was these pearls you had to get, and you had to get 3 of them. And you're killing drakes for hours and hours and hours. Man, I spent so many times in that zone. I mean, it's just crazy. But I knew the end results, man. This guy's going to be walking around with the sprinkler, you know? It was just such a good feeling to help other people, because you just knew the importance of that item.
Right, and you had similar things. I can't speak to like Asheron's Call and Dark Age of Camelot and things like that, but what I can tell you is in Final Fantasy we had something similar where you had the artifact system. Like you got to level 50 and or 52, like 51 you got your artifact, or I don't remember, something like that. In the 50s you got your artifact gear, and it was like each little piece was an artifact piece. And most of the items that you got that were of artifact armor, you had to do that quest before you can move on to the next one. So each piece had like a unique thing to your job that you were getting the artifact for. And that was really cool, because you'd be out, you know, farming, trying to get a coffer key so that way you can open up a coffer, you know, a chest. And you're out there farming and it's slow going by yourself. But then you run into, you know, 4 other jobs that are not necessarily your same job, but everybody's looking for a coffer key. So everybody gets together and you just farm, and like you got a group of 5 people and you're farming for 5 keys. You know, people get a key, they don't bail, they stick around for like another hour or so trying to help everybody get it. And by the time they leave, if everybody doesn't have it, you know, you start to see this like cycling. Yeah. Until everybody gets it. And then, you know, you got the boss fights that are associated with it. Like Cerulean was saying, you know, only 2 to 3 groups were needed for their epic. But you get people that just show up and want to help. And I think that's so cool that that's even a thing. Like, you know, in my case, when we were last playing Nozomi, you know, I played a summoner, right? Mm-hmm. And in order to get summons, that was kind of like your artifact. Like we had artifact gear, but getting summons was a difficult thing if you didn't want to go do like the easy mode, solo mode, and you actually wanted to get the legit summons. And I wanted to get the legit summons because I wanted to get Fenrir, the big dog. And dude, just 4 random people didn't have to pay them a cent. We're just like, yeah, we'll help you get it.
Yeah. Like, it's kind of like awesome. Cerulean was just saying he only needed 2 to 3 groups, but over 40 people showed up to help him get his. So, I mean, that's just something you miss. Like, you want everybody to get it, you know, and when we're talking longevity of items, bro, I mean, people that play retail, if I get on EverQuest right now and talking retail here, if I play my monk, I'm going to use my 1.0 epic. If I play my necro, I'm going to use my epic. You know, it's just those items last forever, and it's an achievement. It's a badge of honor you get to keep with you forever.
Now you've got other epics now in modern times, right? Like, not in modern games, but in EverQuest, you've gotten more than that monk, right? Like I know you got your necro one, don't you?
So yeah. Oh yeah. My monk and my my necro. So they did the 1.0s, and then they went to, you got your 1.5. I don't remember the expansion. Okay. And then you got your 2.0. But the thing about it is, those 1.0s are more valuable than those other ones.
Well, tell me a little bit about the properties of that gear that make you, because I know you've told me cool things about that. And I want you to tell the audience, like, what are some cool things about those epics that you get that you would still hold on to them after you've got your 2.0 or your 1.5 or whatever?
Well, the cool thing about the monk epic was it could be equipped in your hands as a hand-to-hand weapon, fist weapon.
Okay.
Or it could be equipped on your belt.
What?
So that's 2 slots.
You thrust fighting?
Well, here's the other thing. It may, I think it was belt, but the other thing is that you could use your monk 1.0 epic in your inventory. That came later on, but like right now, if I don't have an enchanter haste or a bard haste, I have my 1.0. I can just,
See, and that's the thing is like they were consciously thinking about that, right? Like if you said it came later on, well, it's because they gave you something to replace it with damage wise or stat wise, but they didn't want the relevance of that item to go away because you worked so hard for it.
Right.
And we saw the same thing in Final Fantasy. Like once you got your artifact gear, 5 years down the road, your artifact 2 came out and you could do another set of epic quests and you could then merge your AF1 is what they called it in with some other materials in a quest. And then you get your AF2, which was basically better statted, a different look, it just kind of looked cooler. So like, yeah, like the games thought about that and you just don't see that anymore. Like you spend like several months. See, it's so bad of an example because it's like not a single set of content lasts for years anymore, right? Like you get into WoW and you're like, oh, it's been 3 months. It's time for the next raid. So it's like, there's no, go ahead.
So what made the 1.0 so epic too is you didn't see those kind of numbers on items.
Right.
So I'm looking at the 1.0 Necro just to make sure I'm correct on everything. You had 20 hit points, but you had 80 mana and you had all these resists.
Mm-hmm.
Now the 1.5, 2.0, 1.5 and 2.0 is called the Death Whisper. That's what I currently have in retail EverQuest. And that thing does has multiple properties, right? I think it's 25% more dot damage from a Necro, which is all I primarily do. And then it's a right-click summons a pet that leeches health for the group. So
that's pretty cool.
It's items like that are like, hey, you're not just helping this guy get his epic, you're helping him benefit the group too,
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that makes sense.
cool.
Now, what Sarahlin's saying, Sarahlin's asking, what do we think about what they did in EQ2? So in EQ2, we never got to experience anything firsthand, but Saralin goes on to break it down. Basically, they let you strip the enchantments off of the epic and convert them into spells that you can add to your spell book. And I think that's kind of neat. I think personally, I'd rather see it like utilizing your original weapon to forge a new and more epic weapon. Like if maybe you've got this epic weapon and instead of going out and just getting a different epic weapon, you somehow enhance that weapon by like adding a weapon chain to it or a new guard or something like that. Or you somehow have to melt your old one down to forge it into this new one. Like I like that idea, but that's not bad. That's a good way to do it. Like just give you the abilities in your spell book. We're going to have to go back and play some more EQ2, dude. I'm telling you. Yeah. We had a blast when we did it. We just don't have time to play that and then like, some of these other ones. But maybe one day Guild Wars 2 will chill out a little bit. We can go dabble with EQ2 again. Maybe.
I mean, I'm down, man. I hear a lot of good things. I know a lot of people have never switched from EQ2 because the loyalty and the community is there, and we've heard nothing but good things on the YouTube. So,
yeah, from our own content, nonetheless.
Yeah, they're like, do you guys still play? And we're like,
I wish we did. Wish we could stay relevant. Yeah, because I mean, it was really just like when we started playing, we were just so floored by the experience. We just felt we had to make a video on it, Mm-hmm. It just seemed like the right thing to do. So yeah, moving on with this particular topic that we're talking about, though, getting it back on the tracks. So we talked about some of the properties, like being able to use them in your inventory. that's one selling point. But what about like looking at things like not specifically talking about our artifacts and whatnot, but like what do you think about like some other things? Like why else would you keep these gear around? Like let's say you outgrew it. Like I can say in the essence of like from a WoW perspective, so you got EQ, you've got your clickies, you've got your artifact 2s that you can upgrade from your artifact 1s in Final Fantasy. But in World of Warcraft, as long as it's not a legendary, which kind of sucks that you can't do legendaries. I think that they were going to change that, or there was some discussion. But as far as I know, it still hasn't been added. But you can go and get a weapon that took you a long time to get, and you can still utilize that as a transmog. And that goes for gear as well, too. Like, I think that's important, right? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think appearances I think it's important. Like, if you see a warrior or a ranger in EverQuest with the Sentai longsword and a wormy, aka Worm Slayer.
Oh, okay. I was like, what the fuck is a wormy? Like,
that's what they called it, you know. It was the nickname for the Worm Slayer because everybody knew that little look, and it was nothing special. But you know, going back to the epic weapons, you know, they look cool. They were some of the first weapons in the game that had any kind of flare, any kind of graphical like glows and stuff like that.
mm-hmm.
And that was iconic. You know, you could see it. You're approaching a group. You're going over a hill, and you see a guy with a red and blue lightsaber. Well, you knew that was a freaking warrior that went through all this hell to get his epic.
Right.
And it's just because I think if you make these iconic appearances, then you know you want them in your group, if that makes sense. You know, it's kind of like one of my favorite sets from WoW.
Mm-hmm.
About WoW was the set I can't get, and that was the tier 3 set, I believe.
Okay.
They brought it. I think they brought it back different colorization or whatever.
They did bring it back in some of the one of the Legion raids. They brought it back, but it like you said, it was a different color.
Yeah, man. If I see someone in that particular original OG set, I'm gonna be like, bro, you know, what's up? Join my group, you know.
There's so like a certain level of respect there, right?
There's a certain level of respect, you know. Even when we went back to WoW Classic, I saw a Dwarf Paladin all decked out in raid gear, and I'm like,
mm-hmm.
This is what it was like during Classic. If I would have saw that guy back then, I would have known that he knows his shit. He's went through the shit. He's done the shit. You know what I mean? I
might go back for Nax, man, but my gear looked like garbage. But go ahead.
Well, but you know what I mean, though. Like,
yeah.
When you see someone with cool-looking gear, and I'm not specifically talking transmog, but
right.
Just iconic, that item name has this appearance, you know, you can message them like, bro, that looks awesome. You know, any advice, you know, it kind of starts conversation sometimes, you know, like, where did you get that sword, man? Stuff like that.
So, I mean, when we talk about these items and their appearances and things like that, like you had certain things that you wanted, and I think you probably specifically went after. Same here. I know we used to do some transmog runs with Shadow, and just tried to. It was just one of the chill things that we did. I never used to care about that stuff, but then when you get to the point where you just get bored of the end game, that was a nice thing to do, right? And then you could rock it. Like, would you say like that there's some sort of level of like character identity in your gear? Like, I know for me, I used to rock my shaman gear that I got when we were raiding tier 5. So tier 5 and tier 6 gear, I loved both those sets, and I would switch. And then another one was tier 10, which was the one, do you remember the shaman one that had like the goats that would come out of the ghosty goats that would come out of the shoulder from ICC?
Yes, I do.
So I rocked the 25-man version of that. And I rocked the T6. Those are my two favorite sets, and then tier 5 after that. But go ahead.
It does go hand in hand with identity, because it's like it shows you went to that battle, you went to that raid, you went through those encounters and you achieved what you have. Transmog has kind of killed that, and I'm just going to put this on here right now. I'm not anti-transmog. I love it. I'm more casual these days. So I kind of like doing that. I also like being creative and farming a piece here and there,
Right.
and skinning my armor and making my own unique identity. But and nowadays in modern MMOs, that's not going to tell anybody that I went there and I was scared the battle. It had to be in that current time where someone sees your tier, your 25-man set or whatever, they're going to know, like, man, that dude earned every bit of that,
Yeah, that's kind of like the balancing act, right? Like, where do they come in and say, okay, do we gate this and say you could only have gotten this and that when if you were playing that when it was current? Like, think about Nax. Like, if you were to play WoW in modern times, you don't have the original Nax. You don't have the original toxin injector and things like that. But you can still achieve similar appearances by going there and raiding Nax. But now Nax is like almost 10 years old. So you can go in there and just clear it, and like none of it has any meaning. So like, where do you draw the line and say this is like whatever gear you go there, it's pretty cool looking, but if you want that really cool looking piece, like, do they still have to do some sort of epic quest that they can't just blow through? I think that's where backwards scaling can be beneficial. Like, I don't like overall world scaling, but I think if you take and you scale back the stats, so like maybe you're Billy Badass and you get scaled back to like level 60, but you're still kind of a Billy Badass level 60, you're just not going to be able to solo that group content. So you've got to get with groups of other level whatevers to get scaled down to 60 to go get that gear.
I like that.
Because then it's meaningful, and then take that piece and make it like a unique piece of gear. Make that piece of gear scale upwards, but maybe not aggressively. Maybe add an upgrade path or something. Because that's the whole thing, man. Like, I remember back in my mud days going and getting a dagger. And, there was no visual in a mud or minimal visual in a mud, but you knew when you were getting hit with this dagger because it would say the name of the dagger does this effect. And you're like, that motherfucker has one of those. Mine had Dispel Magic on it. So every time I would attack, it would dispel your abilities and your buffs, and you had to put buffs back on yourself.
Dude, you just brought back memories. I believe there was a dagger in EverQuest that had Dispel Magic, and that's warriors could wield just about every weapon, if not every weapon. And, they would have little daggers that would have snare effects or dispel magic and stuff. And you didn't have to go to someone to get an enchantment on it. The item came with that. So, it was just kind of neat. Like, oh my God, this has dispel magic, or this has snare. I'm going to, you could loot the item, give it to your warrior, or there's been so many cases where I've gotten cool, unique items in EverQuest that I rode another tune because I had that item. I'm like, oh my Beast Lord, I made a winked out Beast Lord because I had all these drops,
Yeah. Dude, and that's the thing. Like, that's what's missing from modern MMOs is that attachment to the gear. Like, it makes, like, I can understand being gear hungry, but then the gear has no meaning to you. It's like getting a promotion. Like, you're striving to work for a promotion, and you get that promotion, and you have this opportunity to have a comfortable life and continue doing what you do, but you no longer have to, like, you can enjoy other things in life because you finally made it, if you will. But so many people, I'm sorry to get like kind of political here, but it's the only analogy I can think of, is like you become money hungry to the point where you're like, well, what's the next promotion? And then I think a lot of people lose sight of what it was like to actually appreciate what you had. And I think that goes with gear too. Like, having that appreciation. Like, you jump into Guild Wars 2 and they're just like, have loot everywhere. Like, there's nothing, there's nothing meaningful to it. It's just like, yep, I just got 250 bags of unidentified green gear, 450 bags of unidentified blue gear, and 100 bags of unidentified yellow gear. I'll see you in about two hours after I salvage all these pieces of gear that mean jack shit to me. And it took me an hour and a half to get all those.
That's crazy, man. And I think what modern games have done, like we look at Guild Wars 2, we look at Destiny 2, only examples I can think of off the top of my head, but it's almost like they just rain loot in your bags,
Yeah.
and that just becomes the norm, where you're sifting through all this loot for that one rare piece, and I think it's kind of like it reminds me of playing a casino game or something,
It is. It's like gambling, right?
You get all these dings, like ding, 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 and then you sift through it, and then you hope for that badass piece that you could sell or
Yep.
use, versus the old school way when you got a ding, you're like, oh, let me check this shit out,
And I like the idea of it being less RNG and more of like I don't know, man. There's just not as much. There's not as much feels when it comes to a piece of gear that you just went out and you put on YouTube or you put on your favorite, music app, and you just sat there watching YouTube, listening to music while you mash number 1 and run around in circles, and hopefully you get the drop that you're looking for so you can turn it in and finish the quest so you can get your, this really badass item, versus going out and actually having to focus up, do these mechanics, do this fight, do this farm, put a group together specifically for this, which, wasn't something that you found in looking for group channels very often. So you had to find specific people to do it, or you had to make friends that would help you do it. And then to complete this whole thing and then go back and do it all over again for somebody else. Like, there's just something different because there's so much, because like that's what it's about, man. It's about what's in here, the heart, the adventure that's in your head, like doing that. And now it's just about like a digital thing that somebody put some statistics on, and you're like, let me throw this in the trash in a case of WoW, where you're like, oh, this epic doesn't have the right balance of itemization. You know what I mean? Whereas like back in the day, you're like, you know what? 2 out of 3 stats ain't bad.
Yeah, man. It's like we're spoiled. We're spoiled these days. Like, oh, you gave me this and it doesn't have plus 12 to burning damage that I wanted. I'm just going to disenchant this shit for the materials, And it's like, man, it's crazy. I guess, shit just don't have the meaning,
Yeah.
I feel like we're old grandpas where, we had to walk. What's that old saying? Barefoot up ways.
Uphill both ways in the snow kind of thing.
Yeah. I feel like we're preaching that, but it's true. I mean, it's you don't appreciate things because it's just thrown at us left and right.
I think it's become akin to like a casual like platformer or something like that, right? Like back in the day when we used to play, like MMOs were this whole new experience, and you walked away and you're like, wow, I just spent an entire Saturday doing one leg of my legendary quest. And I didn't even bat an eye. I didn't even think about it. I need to go eat because I forgot to eat, but you walk away and your heart's just fluttering. You're like, oh, that was amazing. Yeah. That was so awesome for everyone to come together. And we got this done and we did that. Yeah. But now you're like, I got about 30 minutes before bed. Let me pop on and go get 4 bags full of loot. You know?
Yeah.
And it becomes less of an experience and then more of just a game.
I mean, that's what made games back then so addictive, is like, just like you were talking about, that experience. You're like, oh man, my dishes are piling up. There's gnats flying all around. I really need to take care of that. But so-and-so is going to meet me in an hour and I need to, take a shower. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like that took that, MMOs became your life,
Yeah, and you can still make them your life, but it's just not as impactful from an adventure standpoint, I don't think.
Well, like people don't communicate like they used to, with all the voice chat and all the instant research that's on YouTube, and which nothing's wrong with it, but we just live in a society where everything's now.
Yeah.
It's not there because it's not undiscovered. It's not a new experience, If I want to learn something about Guild Wars 2, I pop my monitor up over here with the game over here. I look it up and it's like, oh, okay, that's all I got to do. Cool. I didn't have to ask anybody in the game about it. I didn't have to discover it for myself, you know.
And I think that's going to be one of the challenges with development of newer games. But
Yeah.
I don't want to say that that's necessarily a bad thing. I don't think a knowledge repository is a bad thing. But the issue is that the content has to take into account that that's what people are going to do. It can't be about the mental adventure of solving the puzzles, because the answers are going to be there. They're going to either have to randomize the answers, they're going to have to randomize the order, or they're going to have to present to you puzzles that require you to get together with the community.
Yeah.
Like, you've got a piece of a key that opens the door, but there's 4 pieces of that key. And if you have one, it's, bind on pickup or whatever, and it's unique. So if you've got the left piece of the key, you've got to find somebody who's got the right piece of the key, and then the top piece of the key and the bottom piece of the key to open the door to go get this item from a chest. So you're either going to have to individually acquire those pieces or work together as a team to allocate those to the right people. Kind of like when we used to do those runs where we would go and we each had to have one of those things attached to us in Warframe, where we would go into the mission and like one of us would have less health, the other one would move slow. Kind of like that. But so it's teamwork. You're not just being like, oh, let me just slap all 4 of those on and open the door. No, you've got to get a group of people together that are like-minded, trying to solve the problem together and do that. And at that point, like, the information is available to you to discover how to do it, but the execution still involves other players and still involves that adventurous experience.
Yeah. Project Gorgon kind of did that with the puzzles.
Yeah.
Getting out of the dungeons and stuff. But I felt like it kind of lingered off as we progressed higher level into the game.
Yeah.
But we did we get max level?
We did not, but we got level 50, which at the time was a pretty good chunk into to really experience what things were like as a class. And then 50 to 70 was kind of like you're really honing in. Like, you weren't really getting a lot of new abilities, but I mean, it's still there for us to go play, just like EQ2 and BDO.
Yeah.
So, what are your thoughts? Like, what are some things that, like, so we've got Pantheon coming out, we've got the Fen of Night, we've got Saga of Leucemia. There are some other MMOs, Valor, something like that. That's coming out. So, like, I think these games aim to recapture, as a whole, aim to recapture that old school experience of group play and adventure. Like, what do you think are some ways that they can execute something with regard to gear longevity that gives gear a sense of purpose and makes you, like, adds to the element of adventure?
That's such a hard question, bro, because
I know.
It's one of those things where I don't want another EverQuest. If I want EverQuest, I'll go play EverQuest, or I'll go play P99. But it's also one of those things where they could take elements from a handful of games and kind of collectively make a new idea on each idea. You know what I mean? Like, and on this topic, it's like we want gear to mean something. I miss living with the gear, which, by the way, one day I got to get all my masks that I gave to your bard on retail EQ back, because if the game dies, those masks are going to die with my character. And that's what I'm talking about. You know, like I have items that my characters live with. You know, it's items I work for, I collected, I farmed hours and hours on end for.
Thank you for that, by the way. I picked what was the class that I picked or race? It was
was it half elf?
No,
What elf?
It was like the newer human-y type race.
The Draken or Draken.
And I looked ridiculous. So Def gave me a mask that turns me into what did I choose, or what?
I think I let you borrow 2. A Bashir, the cat.
Yes.
Yeah. But anyone that's played EQ, you know, the collection of the illusion masks, you know, and some of those were hard to get.
And I tried to get them myself, and I didn't have any luck. So
yeah, I mean, and you know, I just miss that kind of attachment to your items. And I think that's something modern MMOs could bring back, like just give it a crazy percentage to drop, make camps. Maybe in modern day society, maybe make a couple of camps that can drop it. I don't know how they could go about that, because I don't think anybody nowadays is going to have those kind of patience. Well, to get this, you're going to need to camp this mob for 30 hours,
See, I'd like to see less of that and more of it takes 30 hours to do this quest. I'm okay with the time sink. And yeah, some farming is perfectly okay. I just don't think I need to be out there mindlessly killing for 30 hours,
Yeah. And
I would
that's
just like... Go ahead.
that's some things that, Pantheons address, 2-hour gameplay sessions and stuff like that.
I gotta... Go ahead. Sorry.
Which is... No, it's fine. Which is fine with me, because, that is 2 hours after work, and then, having an adult and whatever, that's perfectly fine for me. In fact, that's what made me make the switch from EverQuest to WoW. It's like, whoa, I could play this game for 30 minutes, get shit done, log off, and maybe feel accomplished. But the thing with MMORPGs is that, do you ever really feel fully accomplished? Because you can get on there and do more. If you play for 2 hours, you get a lot accomplished. You play for 4 hours, you get even more accomplished. So it's kind of like this never-ending tunnel. Go ahead.
See, but I'm okay with that. Like, if I can jump on and I can accomplish a leg of a legendary quest, and it takes me a solid month to get my gear, like at the end of that, like maybe on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, I'm able to play for the 2 hours, and I have to miss, Friday and Wednesday. But then Saturday I can play all day and grind out 2 solid days worth of, time. It still somehow takes me 3 weeks to a month to get a legendary piece of gear. I think there's still a level of fulfillment that's going to come from that,
Oh yeah, because you put in the time.
Mm-hmm.
You had to pace it out, and you're looking forward to it,
But the thing is once I do that, I can't be in a position where I'm going to want to replace that in a month or two, If it took me a month to get it, I want to use that piece for like a year and a half. And then I want to break it down 2 years from now and break it out and put it on when I'm hanging out with my guildies, so they can be like, oh shit, you got Xcal Prime?
Yeah.
Fucking Onyx.
But yeah, dude, like we were talking about the Epics quest and EverQuest, and you have other iconic items that everybody will know that's ever played the game, like J Boots, the Circlet of Shadow, the Hogresh Elder Bees, and I want to bring this up. Items like that got nerfed later on in the game, so the people who got it pre-nerf have it as it were, as it was.
Oh, that's such an old school mentality when it comes to games.
It's such an old school mentality, but that person that achieved that item, or that person that decides to sell that item on the auction hall, can sell that for millions, or if not billions, since we mentioned billions earlier. You know what I mean? And if they want it, people will buy it,
Yeah.
So it's just kind of that worth of an item. It's not there anymore, because we could get best in slot gear in World of Warcraft. Next expansion comes out, get 2 lines into your quest, and you're replacing that item. That was best in slot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just...
Now like, it's replaced in no time. They're replaced by greens. It's just...
Yeah, well, and then so all your time, you're like, oh, okay, I remember raiding every single week to get all of this, and now it's just replaced. So...
And a lot of people quit when BC came out, when they were replacing their gear with greens within 2 levels, and they were rocking Nax Ramus gear and AQ gear, and they just straight up quit. And I can't say that I blame them, because you worked your ass off for that, and they didn't have transmog back then. Well,
that's the whole reason why it took until the Burning Crusade expansion for me to even try WoW. It was close to the end of BC when I joined WoW, because all the gear I have achieved on EverQuest. I'm like, there's no way. I didn't go to EverQuest 2 because there was just no way I was giving up everything I achieved and worked for, man. I
Right.
just worked too hard for it.
So circling back to what modern MMO developers can take away from this, I think I might have a little bit of an unpopular opinion. I'm curious, chat, what you guys think about this, and Def, what you think about this. What if gear wasn't so epic? And this is what I mean by that is like, what if getting a piece of gear that was stand out and statted? Like, I don't understand why your gear has to be statted. Like in D&D, you can be level 10 and not have a bunch of epic pieces of gear. You have like +1 armor. The rest of your stuff's like regular armor. You know what I mean? Like, why can't you just be a max level character wearing all plate? And that's where you enter the end game, is you're wearing all plate, or you're wearing all mail, you're wearing all leather. But maybe over time it was just upgraded, like, a couple more pieces of armor rating that, helped you survive better. And then what makes it meaningful is that you spend 3 months rating in that gear and you get pieces to put together, and you take to like this artisan crafter, whether it be a crafting person or an NPC, a quest NPC, and you take it to them, and then they have to then turn around and create that item, and maybe that item takes an extra couple weeks, and then you finally get that item, and now you have this sword that has +5 strength, +2 constitution.
Taking it back to like minimum stats.
Exactly. But then make it look cool as fuck and have a really cool aura. And people are like, bro, he took a long time to get that. Get him in our group right now. You know what I'm saying?
That could work. My only rebuttal to that is I think people like numbers too much. I think people like seeing it, going back to EQ and other games, the epic quest, epic weapons. You would see these high numbers, like,
yeah.
Oh man, I got 10 resist to everything and 80 mana. Holy shit. But it's going back to your point, bringing it back to like basic stat, like just minimum,
Yeah.
And I think ESO tried that. Every upgrade, it was like +3%. But I mean, not the scenario you're giving, but you know what I mean? Like 3% in ESO is kind of a big deal once they did their revamp. But
yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about that. I could see it working from a fresh start of a new MMO. That would just be like the thing. Like, this is how gear works in this game. And I think it could work, but I just think people like seeing those high numbers. It's like going to the DPS thing,
Yeah.
People want to see those big dick numbers.
Well, and Sarah brings up a big point too that I was just thinking of as I was saying that, is like, I was thinking, well, I wonder how it balances out though, because if you think about like statistically speaking, if you have smaller numbers to work with and then a smaller sample size, it's harder to get a true evaluation of what you're trying to find out. And in this case, you're doing numbers. Like, it's easier to say, like, if you're working with 1,000 damage and this thing makes you do 100 more damage, well, it's only 10% more. Whereas 10% of 5 is 0.5. Well, what do you do with it? You got to round it up. So, yeah, I mean, I can see that, but I will tell you right now, from SOL standpoint, I don't want to say too much, but hopefully we'll see some number changes there, but I can see what he's saying. What Sarah Lynn's saying. You understand what I'm saying, Def? Without giving away too much?
We're under NDA, so don't say too much about SOL.
But yeah, so yeah, I mean, I can see that, Sarah Lynn. But the thing is like, okay, so let's say that instead of giving you 10 strength, it gives you 100 strength. Like, I don't know. Like, I just like the idea, like, instead of 1 AC like you would get in Dungeons and Dragons, maybe it gives you 100 armor. And then that makes the numbers easier to balance out. Like, this sword does 1,000 damage. You have 3,000 armor. If it rolls this and this, combined with this and this is the result. You take half damage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I just think that'd be super cool, because I'm so fucking tired of it, dude. I'm so tired of loading up in a game and being level 8 and trying to figure out, well, can I go to the auction house and buy blues? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm just so fucking tired of it. Like, why can't I just get some shitty ass gear and be like, all right, I could survive a little bit longer? Because that's what having armor is all about.
Well, that's how I used to play EverQuest. I remember when we were playing P99 and we finally got up to a couple of gold, and you're like, hey, let's go check the vendors out. And we got some pretty good upgrades, and I'm like, what the hell's wrong with me? I never thought about checking out the vendors because I thought all the vendors had was trash. But it helped us progress a little faster because we got a little more AC, and we just spent silver, and we were already taking crush bone belts to Butcher Block Mountains, and we were getting a little coin from that. And we even used the crush bone belts as gear until we got upgrades. So
we did. That was awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, I never thought of stuff like that because I'm not big on auction hall. I just never am. I just take what I can get and save my money until I'm aware of stuff I can buy. That's just how I've always played MMOs. But yeah, man, you bring up some good points.
I just feel like I don't want to feel like I'm getting a piece of gear that's super epic and it just turns out it's just another normal piece of trash. You know what I mean? Like something, and like in Guild Wars, you get blues and every level you're going back to the auction house. Like we've had a friend that was like that when we tried to play EQ with us and he didn't understand. You didn't need to go to the auction house every time you got a level and spend all your platinum. Like just write it out. You know, an extra 1 or 2 AC is no big deal for 10 levels. Check and, you know, save that money for spells, save that money for abilities. Because they were so roped into that whole, you know, I've got to go to the auction house and spend a bunch of money every time I level.
Yeah.
And I just, I'm so over that, man. And like, yeah, call me old fashioned, man. Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, yeah, maybe it is an uphill both ways in the snow. But I really hope that these new modern MMOs can take all these things that we talk about into account. And this is one of those things, like, you know, take into account what we're talking about here today and bring back that sense of adventure, bring back the gear that matters. Don't just keep doing this, you know, throwing piles of loot at us. Like, it doesn't matter. I don't have any attachment to any of that. I'm throwing it in the trash. I'm disenchanting it. I'm salvaging it. I'm vendoring it. I want to go through my gear. And here's another thing. Maybe just have a less abundance of gear. Like maybe you can still keep those stats, but make it not so RNG where you have to get 1,000 pieces of green loot before you get one green one that's got the stats that you want. Like make it so that way, you know, you don't see loot very often. So then when something drops, that's what I'm saying, going back to the, like just base stats, you're running around in the world, you've got 30 hours into the game and all of a sudden a green weapon drops and you're like, oh shit. Yeah. Again, it's got 2 out of the 3 stats that you need, but 1 isn't, but the damage is like 100 damage more. Like sign me the fuck up. Like I'm going to wear this for the next 15 levels. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you get excited for that one drop. And taking it back to base stats, man. I mean, that's just kind of where it's just what I grew up on, you know. And granted, you know, you get some new kids that, you know, your kids are playing Guild Wars 2. They're not going to know any better. They're going to get a new piece of gear and be excited about it, you know. Pretty
sure my daughter at level 46 is still using a sword from level 15 because she just vendors everything that she gets.
Okay, but you know what I mean.
Yeah,
like, you know.
But that's the thing is like she doesn't look at it and go, "Holy shit!" That either looks badass, so I need to look at the stats, or the stats look badass on that, and it's kind of ugly, so I'm going to wear it anyway though because the stats are so awesome. Like, there's nothing that sets it apart.
See, and that's how I can't get my wife into MMOs like permanently because she'll play if we have a group of people playing. She's done it several times, but she doesn't understand the numbers. Like the numbers are everything in MMOs. Like seeing your progression, seeing your stats increase on your character, and then seeing those numbers correlate to your performance and how well you do and how better you do,
right?
And stuff like that. And that's what it's all about. You know, she's all about casting Frostbolt and Rain of Frost or whatever on her mage or whatever, but you know she just doesn't get the loot thing, like she gets a new piece of loot. Oh, is this better? Yeah, it's got, 100 more frost damage.
But it doesn't mean anything to her. And
Yeah.
if there was some adventure associated with that, like you could tell her the gear's better,
Yeah.
but it's the adventure that she's going to remember getting that. She doesn't care about the stats.
Right. And that's kind of like the point I'm trying to bring home is the adventure of obtaining that item, seeing the stats, equipping it, and being proud of that item that you have equipped.
Yeah. That's one way to put it, Michael. Sorry, go ahead.
No, but that's pretty much all I was saying. It's just gear doesn't mean much anymore because you gotta replace it.
Yeah.
And it pisses me off.
Well, again, maybe we'll see some of those changes. I know that we have a lot of devs coming from, that sort of background. They're wanting to bring that back, and Unity seems to give people a place to start with that. And to some extent, I don't know if you saw, and this is kind of a news thing too. Unreal Engine, Unreal 5, whatever the newest version is, they're giving it away for free. So companies no longer have to pay for it right out the gate until they make it's like $1 million or something like that. Once their company makes $1 million, then they've got to pay for it. So we could see more MMOs coming out from on the Unreal Engine as well. So I mean, it could almost be a new horizon for MMORPGs, and we may see some new mixed with the old coming back. So I'm really excited for that.
I don't want to get too off topic here, man, but all these new MMOs coming out, man, I just have no idea how I'm going to play them all.
Well, that's the thing.
It pisses me off.
I
want to play them all.
Well, back in the day, we used to have one to wait for, right? We're like, oh, this new one's coming out in 6 months to a year. Now it's like these 45 are coming out in 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
So I guess we just try them, and hopefully they'll have trial models so we can try them and see what we like, and we'll go from there.
And maybe we can discuss this on a future Battle Live, but my problem with that is, you can't really just try an MMO for 10 levels. You gotta get your feet wet. You gotta, example, if someone wanted to try EQ1, I would say, hey, go to 60, 65, 70, see how you like your class. And they're gonna be like, what? I gotta do all this, just to see if I even like this class? And that, that goes for a lot of MMOs. I would say even Guild Wars 2 is a modern MMO that we're both into. But I would strongly recommend people try their class out to at least level 40.
And I will tell you, though, dude, it's just going to be like the old times. I mean, you had EverQuest, you had Dark Age of Camelot, you had Asheron's Call, you had Ultima Online. Granted, there were a lot fewer. But if you think about it in the grand scheme of things, there's really only slightly more that are in the near future coming out, right? I mean, you've got Pantheon, Saga, Defend the Night. Those are the three that I can think of off the top of my head that are really going to be coming out that we're watching. But there's also Ashes of Creation, which is intending to come out sooner than later, but who knows?
Outer Worlds.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a whole slew of games, but they're not so many that I don't think we're going to get the opportunity to try it. But I think this is a good time to kind of wrap things up here for the night. I think we've had a pretty good discussion on the topic. And again, hopefully that these developers are listening and they're taking this stuff into account. And, I would love to just find an MMO that feels good to us old farts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just it's missing, I don't know. It's like, I'm not an old guy looking to go to a classic car show, but at the same time, I want elements of what it means to be an MMO player to come back. And this is one of them, is having that epic quest to get that epic piece of gear and not have it replaced in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think what I've took away from tonight's stream is the attachment, the achievement, that badge of honor, that work you worked for, longevity,
Yep, absolutely.
That's just something I really, no matter what MMO's coming out, that's something I really, really miss.
Same here, man. Well, it was good talk, guys. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Really appreciate the conversation. For those of you who are checking this out after the fact, please leave your comments in the comments below. Let us know what you think. And, again, most of all, thank you so much for coming out and supporting what we do. A little bit of update on that side. We are almost at 1,000. Like, we've been almost at 1,000, but we're almost at 1,000 subscribers now. We're like 14 or 15 away, something like that. So if you guys could, please share our content. Let other people know that we exist. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Hit that bell notification button below on the video to let you know when we are live. We do have some new shows planned and some other things potentially coming up in the works. So big things could be coming, but either way, we want to make sure we're putting out content that you guys enjoy. And if we're able to push those sub numbers, it really lets us know we're doing the right thing, and we can keep making that content. Otherwise, we change things up a little bit to see if we can, make different content. If you're not already following us on social media, you can find us over on Facebook. You can find us on Twitter. And we're a Battle Axe Theater without any dashes or spaces, anything. And, most of all, give us a call, drop us a rant, leave us a voicemail. What's that number, Def? Do you know?
It is 725-333-2285.
So yeah, if you guys haven't checked it out, we put a video up on our channel, a little advertisement for that. Expect to see that rolled into the Bat Live here in the future. And we hope to hear from you guys. Really appreciate it. Nate, it's good to see you, man. Nate the Napalm in the house, everybody. At the very end, what is up?
Yeah.
So Michael, Sarah Lynn, Nathan, and our close friends at home, our real life friends that we know and see on the reg, thank you so much for coming tonight. And I think that pretty much wraps it up. Do you have anything you want to add, Def?
I just want to thank everybody and anybody watching on the VOD. Please comment below. Let us know what some of your favorite items that you were attached to in your MMOs, because I would really love to hear it, because I just miss, like I said, that longevity, that attachment, that achievement that you earned in an MMO. So other than that, thanks everybody for watching, and thanks for sticking around.
All right, man. Well, we will see you guys next week, and hopefully we've got a good topic to talk about. And thanks again. We'll see you then.
Later.
Peace.